We have a class of 5 here. We're running from about 240 to 250 in this class. I think there's one pig that kind of comes in here that really says I'm it, and that's going to be the young man straight away there with that Hamp Papirian barrow. I think the barrow comes in here and he's stout and he's massive, but he's also the deepest sided pig in this class. I think there's no questions. You evaluate him over the top. He's just tremendously massive and powerful over that loin edge. Or what I really like is that efficiency we see in his flank and the lower part of his rib cage. Consequently, I think there's also another really good pig in here, and that's going to be the young man with the blue butt mass face hog there. I think young man, that pig comes in here, and he's one of the stoutest base pigs that we see. I think he gets maybe just a little more pinched in that ham loin junction. I certainly would like to see him opened up in his rib cage just a little bit more, but an awful good pig as well. From there, the young man with the white spotted pig comes next in this class. I think young man, this is a pig that kind of falls in tune with those top two pigs in terms of his mass and his muscle. Maybe he gives up just a little bit of dimension and power, but I think he's also a pig that we really like for his efficiency to his look to his side. From there, we're going to go with the young lady's belted pig right here, the white pig or the white shirt. I think a pig that just has a little bit more shape and expression at this point in time. A pig that I do think kind of gets down in his loin and kind of wants to get off in terms of her hip and hock. Certainly a gilt we'd like to see just a little bit deeper in her flank. Young lady in the green, I also like your pig in terms of the production. You know, a pig that's really deep in her side. Maybe just kind of losing some of that shape and expression at this lighter weight. But I do think he has some mass as you start to evaluate him from behind. Just like to see him more pulled apart into his shoulders just a little bit there. As far as showmanship, young man, you've got the callback in this, or you've got the best in show right there. You're super intense. I think you do a great job keeping that pig in front of me. I would say from time to time, you know, we maybe get that pig between you and me, you and the pig, and just work on turning that pig just ever so slightly so we can always keep that pig between you and me. But I think you do a tremendous job. Very, very intense kind of a showman. Young lady, I think at the end that pig started working for you just a little bit better. I like the way your patience is with that gilt. I'd say just need to see you just a little bit quicker from time to time, especially at the beginning of the round. Young man over here in the white, there's instances where you're super intense as well, and you get that pig driving extremely well. I just need to see that all the time. You know, keep that hog in front of me. You've got a good pig. That is a pig that we need to keep his head up. So really work on getting that head to kind of come up so we can make him look as showy as he is, as massive and powerful as he is. Young lady in the green, you have a super nice pace about you. Okay, you're slow and smooth and quiet. I would just say be a little bit more aggressive. Get that pig out in front of me just a little bit more. You're kind of content letting that barrow kind of get on the fence. Get that barrow out in front of me so I can see him just a little bit more. Young man in the blue, you also do a great job with your showmanship skills. I'd say show me just a little bit more intensity. You're kind of tall and long-legged, kind of like me. Like to see you down just a little bit more. That will help you just show me that intensity. You're always in the right position at the right time. Just need to see you a little bit more often. Just show me a little more intensity, and I think you're golden in this class. Let's give them all a big round of applause as they leave the ring. We'll keep the top one back. Let's give our second market hog class of the day a big round of applause. So I think this is a fairly competitive class. We got some different types of pigs in this class. For me, one that just kind of jumps out to the front for me is this young man's gilt. I think this blue-headed blue butt gilt just is super massive and super expressive. A gilt that certainly has one of the biggest, boldest turns to her loin edge. She comes at you with a huge chest floor, leaves with that same advantage. You know, to be critical, I think we can certainly make her just a little smoother in her joints so she doesn't come out so straight, maybe a little deeper in her flank. But for marketability, I think this gilt's just going to crack open the biggest loin eye in this class and just do really well on the rail. From there, I think it becomes kind of challenging. We got a couple pigs that, for me, kind of put a lot of things together. We're going to go next to this young lady's blue pig here. That barrow is super stylish on the side profile, you know, really big down his top. For me, we get behind that barrow. I like how wide he is at his pins. I just wish he carried more muscle depth down into the lower center portion of his ham. I think this barrow is one that, you know, if we could put another 20 pounds on him, he'd be super outstanding. Consequently, we have a young man over against the rail with that loud pig. I think that gilt is also super stylish, has a lot of eye appeal, maybe kind of gets down just behind her shoulder right there, but a gilt that's also really powerful over her loin edge. I think she's opened up enough in her rib cage. You get behind that gilt, another one that's really wide in her pin set. I just wish she had a little bit more dimension from her flank to her twist, give her drop just a little bit more muscle mass down in the lower center portion of her ham. From there, I think we have two barrows that we really like in terms of the production. Number 22 comes next with this white belted barrow. I think a barrow that is super opened up in its flank. Certainly has enough mass down its top. You get behind this barrow, and you could certainly argue maybe he's got more width and dimension into that center portion of the ham than two pigs above him. But for me, you bet. For me, I think he's a pig that's also starting to lose its shape and just get a little plainer in his design at this point in time. Young man in the red plaid comes next. Another barrow that's very productive, oriented about his rib. A barrow that's really deep into that flank and has a lot of efficiency to its look, but also a barrow that maybe starting to lose its shape just over his top a little bit more. Certainly when you get behind that barrow, a barrow that's kind of getting a little more fat in that ham seam, we'd like to just trim him up just a little more at this point in time. But I love the foot size. I love the mass and the chest floor in that pig as well. Young man's white gilt comes next in this class. Certainly a gilt that has a lot of shape and expression. I think she just gets kind of outpowered, outfooted in this class. She's just a little finer in her bone work. Maybe a gilt that just gets a little bit off in her spine. Like to kind of loosen her up just there. But a gilt I do think has enough muscle and mass to certainly get a blue ribbon. And we'll round out the class with the young man spotted barrow there. I think a barrow that you know, has enough muscle mass as you analyze that barrow from behind. I just wish he stepped down on a greater circumference of bone. Just a small footed barrow. I think it needs more top and more dimension into that lower part of its rib cage. As far as showmanship goes, for me, best of show, it's going to be this young man with this white gilt. I think you have done an outstanding job keeping that pig in front of me. The only criticism I'd say, leave the gum at the pin. Okay. But other than that, young man, you are doing a great job keeping that pig in front of me. This is maybe a little more of a challenging class because we've got more pigs in here, but you have been on top and you've been on target the entire time with that gilt, keeping her in front of me. Just to kind of talk about the rest of you, young man in the blue plaid with that good gilt there, I'd say you do a great job keeping that pig in front of me. Every once in a while, she just kind of wants to stop. She's kind of sensitive to other pigs and that kind of thing. You just got to figure a way to keep her going in open space and keep her moving constantly. Try not to use your knee. Use that whip to turn her in, and that's just a little bit of homework. Young lady with the blue gilt, I think you started out awesome. And then I just kind of lost track of you. You know, that barrel just kind of got on the fence just a little bit more. Just be a little bit more aggressive getting that hog out in front of the ring. Young man in the white here, you do a great job as well with that pig. Every once in a while, I just kind of lose you. You know, so kind of get out of traffic when you can and drive that pig out in front of me. But I think you're doing a great job with that tool. You're always on the right side of that pig. You show me some good eye contact and intensity. Just need to see you just a little bit quicker from time to time. Young man with the white shirt over here, you have a barrel that just kind of came in here, laid down a couple times on you. Try to keep that pig on the move all the time, and that's just a little bit homework that when you're out in the show ring, we're working. And so do that homework at home to know when you're out in the show ring, the pig's working on you. But a lot of things I like. You give me good eye contact. You really work on getting that pig back up and out in the middle of the ring for me. Young man with the red plaid, same thing on you. Pig's a little harder to show. I mean, pig just doesn't want to move out. But I think from time to time, I saw you really well. You gave me good eye contact. You are an intense showman. Just you gotta work with that pig, get that pig off the rail just a little bit more. Young man over here on the fence with that spotted topped hamp preparing pig. You started out really good. I mean, you came in here, the pig is shining up, it's got good skin and hair, and then the pig just got kind of tired on you, and that gilt just kind of been a rail hugger the whole time. What I appreciate is you kept your cool. You haven't beat that pig up. You just kind of keep working her and take what you get. Sometimes that just happens, especially with pigs. Is it's a partnership, and sometimes the partner just doesn't come to work. Let's give them all a big round of applause as they leave the ring. Let's give our third class of Margaret Hogs a big round of applause, please. I think we got a good class here. We're going to keep two back from this class. We're going to start with the young lady's belted hog right here to win this class. There is no question. He is the most massive top pig we've seen thus far. Big chest in this pig. I think, young lady, you do a great job. You know, that pig can kind of look kind of quick from time to time, but you keep that head up constantly. You can kind of lengthen him out and extend him out plenty to give him that eye appeal that really catches the judges' attention. You get behind this pig, I think he's got enough mass and power in that ham. Maybe we could drop down just a little bit more into his twist, but certainly a really good pig to start the class off. Young man, I think if you like shape and power from behind, you take that gilt over there for second. But I'm going to have you come back. I think she just gives up a little bit of dimension as you start to steady her down her top. She's just not quite as bold and wide and massive over that loin edge. Maybe a gilt that kind of drops in that loin just a little bit. We'd like to see her maybe just a little bit deeper in her flank, but I think no question she is one that's really pulled apart in her blades and her hip, really comes down to the ground extremely wide in her base. From there, I think we see some differences. But young man, this red belted pig kind of comes next in my mind. I think a pig that really follows those class winners in terms of mass and power and production to that rib cage. I think a pig that's also maybe just getting a little bit plainer for me and kind of starting to lose some of that shape and expression down that barrow's top and into that ham seam. The white pig's going to come next in this class. I think the young man, that gilt certainly has that shape and expression. I just like to see her maybe a little bit deeper in her flank, wider in her base, give her a little bit more bone and foot size into her. But I think she's a really good blue ribbon pig as well. That's just kind of in a tough class with these other four into it. And the young man's black belted barrow right here is going to round out our class. I think a barrow that just gets kind of outpowered as we look at the four pigs that it's got to go against. A pig that's getting a little bit plainer in his top. You get behind this pig, and I think he gives up a lot of mass and dimension into that ham seam. What we got going for him is that pig is deep-sided. It's got a lot of efficiency to that flank, but we just need to see that pig just more expressive and get rid of kind of that stale look to that pig. As far as showmanship, young lady, that showmanship skill really helped you rise that pig to the top. I think you do a fantastic job. You're going to be my pick for showman in this class. Super job showing that pig. Young man over here, I like your showmanship style as well. I think you're a super intense showman. Keep that pig moving. That's kind of maybe the toughest part, is that pig wants to kind of stop for you. Try to keep that head up. But I think you're doing all the right things. You just got a pig that's, she's like, everything I can do, but go forward. So keep working on that. Young man with the bear over here, I'd say, keep that pig between you and me. I need to see just a little bit more eye contact. That pig kind of laid down on you. Keep that pig moving forward. Get that pig to move forward as much as you can. Young man with the white pig, every once in a while you just kind of get far from me. I'd like to see that pig in front of my vision just a little bit more. But I think you do a great job with your pace, how you work that pig. You're always on the right side. And the young man with the red pig, kid, you show me a ton of intensity. I mean, you're down, you're giving me that eye. I mean, I can feel you. You're so intense. Just kind of keep that pig moving, keep that pig out in front of me just a little bit more. I'd say, times might just need to get a little more aggressive working the front end of that pig, okay? So try to stay away from the back end. Let's give all these exhibitors another big round of applause as they leave the ring. Let's give this class of Margaret Hogs a big round of applause. We're kind of in our 270-pound range pocket. I think we have a really good pig to kind of hang our hat on. That's going to belong to that young man with that black barrow there, or gilt. I think that gilt comes in here, and she's just super shapely and expressive, super powerful as you get behind her. I like the turn to her loin edge. I think a gilt that's got enough dimension into her flank. She's got plenty of foot size to her, and she is athletic. Okay, she's going to be our callback in this class. I think we get to the other three pigs, and we've got quite a bit of differences. And I think as we get into this heavier weight, we certainly have some pigs that have enough muscle. We're going to be blue ribbons throughout this class, but I'm going to go with the young lady spotted white barrel there. I think a barrel that just has more length and extension from end to end for me. Super big topped in that pig. I think you get behind that pig, and you certainly like to see maybe more mass and power and shape in that ham seam. But if you truly analyze that pig comes down wide in its base. And I think we got to really appreciate the width into the base of that pig, and certainly think that there's a lot more muscle in that pig than maybe sometimes appears. From there, we're going to go with the young lady's red belted pig here. This calico barrow just maybe has a little bit more shape and dimension into that ham. A pig that we really like the shape down its top. Maybe it's starting to kind of fill in over that loin edge and be a little bit more pre-exposed to condition. That kind of knocks it down a little bit, but a barrow that's really deep-sided. But we're getting kind of wasty through that jowl and pushing a little more grease in that elbow pocket, and maybe a barrow that just kind of rounds off his hip just a little bit more. The young lady with the Duroc. Kid, I like this pig when it came in the ring. I think it's one of the most shapely, expressive pigs in this class. I think it just gets out powered at this point in time. But this is a Duroc pig that can handle a lot more weight. We can run this pig to 300 pounds, and I think it'll be really tough to beat. But I think in this class, maybe a barrow that just gets beat out in terms of just mass and power. But I really like the shape and expression, and no question, that's probably our cutability pig in this class. But I think it's still deserving of a blue ribbon in this round. For showmanship, young lady, you're going to win it for me. You're going to be our pick for showmanship. I think you've worked extremely hard. You're the first one in the ring, and you've been in front of me constantly. You really have a nice way about you. I really appreciate what you're doing with that pig in this class. Just to kind of talk about the rest of you, young lady with the white pig, I think you have a nice, slow, patient pace. You just got a pig that kind of wants to dig his nose in the ground just a little bit more. Just be a little aggressive. Keep that pig just moving a little bit faster, a little bit quicker. Young lady with the red spotted pig, I just need to see some more eye contact. You're doing a lot of the right things. You always keep that pig between you and me. You're super easy on the move. You have a nice pace to you. I just want to see a little more eye contact, a little more intensity from you. But I think you've done an outstanding job showing that pig as well. The young man with the black pig here, you're doing some good things. I'd say, maybe try a whip from time to time to see if that pig will just kind of respond. I think if you can get that pig's head up, and that's kind of the advantage of maybe of a whip, is kind of getting able to slap under that chin, keep that pig's head up. That pig will look super stylish in the class. Every once in a while you just got a little far from me, but you do show me a lot of eye contact. You're super intense, and you keep that pig between you and me at all times. Let's give them another big round of applause as they leave the ring. Let's give your first class of novice market hogs a big round of applause. These three pigs are in that 230-pound range, so they've just made weight. They're maybe a little bit on the small side, but I think there's a pig that kind of comes in here and says, "I'm it," and that belongs to the young lady number 56. That belted pig is super. Comes in here, big chested, big ended, really leveled down his top. I think it's really hard to beat this pig at this time. That's going to be my callback in this class. Second place is going to be a young man with a white pig. There's no question this pig has a lot of shape and power into that ham. Really got a nice groove working down his top. To be critical, we got to talk about the structure on that pig just a little bit, and he gets really opened up in his shoulder and really wants to pound the outside of his foot on the ground. But you've done a great job with that gilt, just kind of keeping her on the move and letting her give you what she has. But I think we just can't really get past the power on that pig. That gilt is super fresh and expressive in her look. Young lady with the spotted hog is going to kind of round out the class, and I think, young lady, you brought this hog in at the right weight. It's average in its muscle. It's kind of average in its loin edge. No question, it's probably going to cut the smallest loin edge in this class, but it's going to cut with enough fat. We don't have too much fat on that pig just yet. I think you bring that barrow into me, 20 pounds heavier, and all of a sudden we've got a yield grade 2 on our hands. But I think that pig still fits in that yield grade 1 for my mind. That's going to give you a blue ribbon on that barrow there. We just need more mass and power into that barrow. That barrow is really getting kind of plain and stale over his top and starting to lose that shape. But I think we're still at that point where we're all right with that pig. As far as showmanship goes, I think we got a novice class, young lady, number 56. You're going to be my showmanship pick. I think you've just been consistently out in front of me. A couple things I'd say, you got a super good barrow that likes to keep his head up. You've trained him really well. Just keep working the front end of that pig. Sometimes you need to be aggressive. Just be sure that you're not too aggressive, and just keep that pig moving as much as you can. If it helps, sometimes use a brush, and you can use it in your free hand. Just kind of pop him on his top, just keep him going. Young man with the red plaid, you've done a super job just taking what that pig will give you. I like your intensity. You do a fairly good job keeping that pig out in front of me. I like the way you handle your tool. It's just you got a pig that's a little harder to show today. Young lady in the blue, you started out gangbangers. Man, you're giving me a lot of eye contact. You get that barrel kind of driving. And as the round went on, that pig has just kind of had more of a mind of his own, wants kind of hug the rail just a little bit more. But I appreciate your slow movement in here, and your at times just get aggressive, especially when he wants to kind of go to that rail or get next to some pigs. Just make sure that he gets away and get him out in front of me just a little bit more. Let's give all these exhibitors another big round of applause.
Class 7 coming in.
Let's give this class a big, big round of applause. We got 3 pigs in this class, super good pigs. We're going to go blue ribbons throughout. We're in that 260 to 270 range in this class. For me, I think this black-headed pig comes in here, and this barrow is just so big topped and massive, really deep side into that pig. Maybe you can argue maybe a little quick in its look a little bit, but I think that young man brings this pig in at the perfect weight. Just really soft in a skeleton pig that's really showy. And we talk about with pigs, there are 2 very important cuts on the pig, and that's going to be the loin, and the other would be the bacon, and that pig's got them both. Okay, I mean, we got the most popular cut covered, and we got the most expensive cut covered, and I think that pig just does it really, really well. Son, I like your pig a lot. Super expressive. If we could take some of that expression, put it on that pig, I mean, we got a world banger. For me, your gilt is super extended, really long and loose in that spine. I think we can't. There's no question. She's super expressive. Has a ton of groove working down her top. I just need that gilt just probably pulled out just a little bit more. Open her up in her rib cage, give her more top width. But I love the extension elevation in that pig, and I think that's kind of where we're going from this type of pig to that type of pig. We just got to fit somewhere kind of in the middle. Young man, you bring a pig in here. That she's got enough mass and power. She just doesn't have compared to these other 2 pigs in here. She's got a nice groove working down her top. I think she's really long and extended. She's got enough foot size, enough chest floor. She just isn't pulled apart and as powerful as those other 2 pigs in this class. As far as showmanship, my golly, this is tough. We've got a couple of young men in here that are super intense, and they're doing some advanced moves that we probably don't see a lot of seniors do. I've got to go. Probably my pick's going to go the young man with the black-headed pig. I mean, you are always in the right spot. You keep that pig moving just maybe a touch bit smoother than the young man here with this belted pig. Kid, you are super intense. I know mom's out there going, smile. I wish you would smile. I don't care about that stuff. If you're in here to win it, you're in here and you're serious looking. And, both of you got that serious look to you, super intense. I love the way you turn that pig into you. Just at times that pig just kind of gets just a little bit slow and getting that movement. And that's probably what separates the 2 of you. Young man in the blue plat, you do a great job as well. You just got stuck into this class where these 2 young men are just gangbangers. I think you're doing a lot of right things. What I appreciate about you, you're having fun in here, even though you got a pig that maybe doesn't quite work as well. You're keeping that pig out in front of me best you can, and I like the smooth and pleasantness you have about yourself. Let's give them all a big, big round of applause. We'll keep the top 2. We'll come back. Let's give our novice heavyweight market hog class a big round of applause. I think it's definitely a challenging class in here. We got three good pigs, but also three different kinds of pigs in here in terms of their look and trend. I think I'm going to go ahead and use the young man's black pig over there on the fence there, number 213. I think Gil comes in here and she just kind of puts all the pieces together for me. She's really extended and elevated. You know, she's got really high in her headset, a female that is really outstanding to look at from the side profile. And she certainly has enough depth to her flank. She's got enough shape and expression, and she's getting into that 280, 290 range, and she's a big pig that's holding that weight extremely well. I think a super good pig to kind of tie on to go to win this class. From there, the young man right here with this wide belted pig for me comes next. I think a pig that still has some shape and expression working down that barrow's top. You get behind that barrow, and I think he comes down on all fours really well. He's pretty wide from the ground up. Maybe we could say we could see a little bit more dimension and expression of muscle into that ham. But for me, I think that barrow just, you know, has the shape right now and the freshness that kind of puts him into that second hole. Young lady, I like the depth side of that pig. For me, a pig that's starting to lose that freshness. We're starting to lose that shape and expression down his top. We're just getting a little bit too fat in my mind. You get behind this barrow, and I think he certainly is wide in his base, but he's getting really high in that ham seam. We'd like to see that ham just drop down just a little bit more, just kind of extend that pig from front to rear just a little bit more and elevate him up through his front end. As far as showmanship goes, I think, young man, you've kind of been the most consistent in this class. You give me great eye contact. You have a nice pace about you. You seem to be out in front of me the most often. Young lady, you move that pig. That pig's always moving. I just like to see you keep that space a little bit closer to me. You kind of get away from me just a little bit more. I love the way you handle that pig. You're just nice and slow and smooth. But every once in a while, I kind of lose your focus and your attention. Your eyes kind of wander just a little bit. Just give me a little bit more intensity, a little bit more focus. Young man, you have a ton of focus and intensity. You just have a pig. He's pretty fast. Okay. But I think also you're kind of making her fast. Okay. If you will slow down just a little bit, she'll slow down. Okay. So, you know, kind of keep out in the front of that pig just a little bit more. I love the way you work in that gilt. I'd say you're just kind of behind her. So if you get kind of at the shoulder ahead of her just a little bit more, I think she'll slow down for you just a little bit. But I love your intensity. I love your focus as well. Let's give all three of these exhibitors another big round of applause. We'll keep the top two back. it's real easy to kind of say back in March or April, well, I quit, fair's done, and just kind of mark your pig. So, you know, it takes a little bit of a stress to say, okay, we're going to take this pig and we're going to go ahead and feed them out the way we should and plan on the fair and not know if it's going to happen or not. So, you know, good job. Hopefully, you guys were able to get maybe some virtual things done, maybe some jackpots and another state that maybe happened and get some experience that way. But I think we have some awful good pigs in here. I think some of our better pigs might be just outside our ideal weight range in this class. But I think through and through, the juniors have done an awful good job, and I appreciate being able to come here and judge a live show and judge your kids, and it's been really a pleasure. So with that, we'll go out and pick your champion reserve. Let's give them one more big round of applause. Okay, in our junior breeding show, this is a February cross gilt. Really a gilt that comes in here. You love the extension and length that she has. She's really loose in her joints. I think she's pretty flexible enough. We kind of got to watch her just a little bit. She kind of wants to hit the outside of part of her toe just a little bit. But I think, for the most part, she's got enough extension and levelness in her spine. She's going to be good there. A gilt that's got plenty of shape and expression. I think we got a lot of avenues and what kind of bore we can put on this female. And she's nice and even in her underline. Maybe she could be just a little bit more prominent in her nipple shape, but, certainly a good gilt, and she's going to be a champion of her February division. Young man brings a Duroc female into the Duroc division, and she's super good. We saw her a few days ago, and she's as good then as she is now. Just a super broody female, very mature about her vulva. Good structure kind of female, nice even underline. But I just love the rib shape in her, and the bone and the foot size. I think you can go a lot of different ways on her as well. Let's give him a big round of applause for champion Duroc. spread division, 2 females in this class. Both of them are good, but I think I've just got to go to the young ladies' gilt. For me, she's just the broodier of the pair. She's just deeper in her rib. She's huge, massive in her top. I just love how she's pulled apart. But probably the most important is, how flexible she is off of both ends, and she really maneuvers around this ring, really flexible. The young man's gilt, I love the shape and expression of that gilt. I think a gilt that has enough rib shape, especially lower rib shape. She's really even through her underline. She's very prominent, mature in her vulva. For me, she maybe just got outside her skeleton just a little bit in terms of her structure, especially that hip and hock. We just like to see her just a little more flexible and, level out that spine just a little bit more. But, as far as muscle, that gilt has a lot of that. You just got to be careful about, who you plan to mate her to. But I think you do it right, and you're going to have some world bangers too. Let's give both of these a big, big round of applause. We got champion reserve in our January division.